to Let's Get Growing. It's Jo here, the educational gardener from Bulwell Forest Garden in Nottingham, and it's the end of March and it's officially British summertime, though, you know, enough said about that, the better maybe. So let's get cracking, let's get growing. And so this week it is the RHS's big seed sow. So B.F.G are going to be joining in with that, and we're going to be holding an event on Saturday 1 till 4, so that's the 1st of April, and you'd be an April Fool not to come along. So we're going to be sowing seeds and swapping seeds, and we've got lots and lots of surplus seeds even if you haven't got your own seeds to bring along, so it's free and everybody's welcome. So on that theme of seed sowing, we're going to be throwing a little bit of caution to the wind today and getting cracking sowing some seeds, so it's still a little bit chilly. So if you haven't got any way of protecting these seedlings, I would just hold fire a little bit longer yet. But I'm going to sow these seeds and try and mitigate some of the sort of factors around this spring, which is actually been quite cold and wet. So we're going to start with your packs. So you've got some sunflower seeds and you're going to have a mixture of seeds, I decided. So we've got some tall red ones, we've got some vanilla ice, which are a pale yellow one, but they're still quite tall, and then we've got some giant single ones, which are probably the traditional sort of big sunflowers. So you're going to have a little mixture in an envelope. So I'm going to do these in the trusty toilet roll tubes, and I've put my toilet roll tubes into a plastic container to hold them, but the plastic container has actually got holes in the bottom so that moisture can drain away, and they're not just going to sit there and rot. So I'm dipping a little hole, probably about 1 inch deep, a little bit less. We don't want to do them too deep, otherwise the seeds will rot. And then I'm going to put one seed in each tube. And I'm sowing. It's good to sow more than you think you need with sunflower seeds, because they do get eaten by snails and slugs. So I do a few of each variety. So that's the red ones, and then I'll do 3 of the giant single ones, and I'll do 3 of the vanilla ice. Get into them. And they are hardy annuals as sunflowers, so they should be okay. They're tiny little seed, they don't need to be as deep. It's the vanilla ice ones. So that's it. I've got 1 seed in each. And as well as being really, really beautiful to look at, they're really good for the birds as well. If you leave the seed heads on in autumn, the birds are going to have lots of food to forage on. I'm just going to cover them up, and then got my label, just bob that in there. And then what I'm going to do, I'll water these with a fine rose so I don't wash them out, and then I've got another little sort of mushroom punnet type affair fruit tray, and I will just be putting that on as a lid, as a propagator top, until the seeds germinate. And then once they germinate, I will take that off so that they can breathe. And I probably will be covering all my seeds up with some of this horticultural fleece to give them a little bit of extra protection, because like last night it was like 1 degree, although it's set to warm up in the next few days. So you can buy this on the high street. I'm not promoting the company. This is quite a cheap one, and you know it's cheap because it won't last very long, it tears very easily. You can get better quality online from horticultural suppliers, but this will do the job if you can't get anything else really. Okay, next seeds, we are going to do some lettuce. So we're going to do some varieties of lettuce that are suitable for something called cut and come again. So the aim of these is to grow a tray of lettuce. So we're not growing these to prick out, so you can do if you want, but I'm going to grow these to show you how you can just do a tray of cut and come again lettuce. So they'll grow in here to a certain size, about that size, then I will cut them, harvest them, eat them, and then let the tray grow again. And last year we had about 3 cuts from one little tray, so it's quite a good thing to do if you've not got much space at home. So I'm going to put my compost in. It's a nice peat-free compost I've got here. And then again there's a mixture of seeds, but I think these are mainly salad bowl typed variety, which are really well suited to cut and come again. So I get a few seeds. I think they're both red and green, these. So there's a lot of seeds in a lettuce pack. So I'll put them in my left hand, and then, because I'm right-handed, and then with my right hand, with my finger and thumb, I'll pinch them out and then just scatter them. And when you're doing them in a tray like this without pricking them out, you can put them a bit thicker than you would if you're going to prick them out. So I think I'll put a few more in there actually. Okay, and then because lettuce seeds are quite small, we don't want to cover them up with too much, but we're going to give them a light covering with our compost because we don't want them too deep, we don't want them to rot. I'm going to press them down, and then I've got a label, same principle, water them with a fine rose, and then I've got another lid which I'll put on there. Okay, and then finally, dare we do it? I've been waiting, but what I've decided is we're going to go for it. Tomatoes. So some people sow tomatoes on like Christmas Day and they grow them inside. In my experience, I've not got the right conditions at home and they always get very, very leggy. I struggle, and I think sometimes if you do them later, they do actually catch up, but it hasn't actually been very warm, and they do need it quite warm to germinate, though it is set to get warmer in the next few days. So I'm going to do it, and this is a variety called Moneymaker. If they don't grow, we've got plenty more seed, so I just have another go. So so I've got my punnets. Again, get my compost in. The dog's very excited about the planting of the tomato seeds. Right, I'm going to sow these. Quite a lot of seeds there, maybe too many. I'm going to try and spread them out. Probably too many for one household, but you can always, they might not all survive, so good to have more than you think, and you can always give them to your friends and your family, your plants, if you've got too many. So, got those. Again, cover them up, press them down, water with a fine rose, label, and my little lid. So that's today's packs, all seeds. Very exciting time of year. So we're going to have a look quickly at some of the things from the previous packs that we need to do something with. So these are my 3 dwarf, the Sutton broad beans. So they're all doing all right, all 3 of them are. Just have a look at in their pots. Yeah, so the root systems, they're not desperate, but what I am going to do is to put them into their final location. So I think I'm going to use quite a biggish pot, and I've just filled this with some quite rough homemade compost and a bit of manure, because they're not fussy. So that's on the bottom base up to about there. And then I'll put a little bit of, I don't want to use all my potting, good expensive potting compost on them. They'll be fine in here. And then I'm going to transfer them. I'm not going to disturb their root bowl. So there's one. Put all 3 in one pot. 2, and then my final one, which is the most vigorous one. Put that one in there, and I'm just going to fill around it with my decent compost. I think the other one would be quite weedy actually, maybe. Okay, pressing down, making sure there's no gaps in there. Water them and then they're good to go. So they're reasonably hardy, broad beans, but the ones outside we do have, they're just starting to germinate, the seeds that we sowed directly outside. So we cover that with a bit of we cover them with a bit of horticultural fleece, so that's something you could do if you felt you needed to. Ugh, weighs a ton. Right, finally, I've got quite a few ornamentals that I put into big pots. So I've got a Sweet William. These are all from previous packs, a Delphinium, a wallflower and a Shasta daisy. So what I've decided to do is, if I can get them all in here, is to put them all into one big ornamental pot together. That's going to be a bit of a treat for the bees. So if I can fit them all in, I've got a bit too much in there. So start with my Sweet William, and that's a quite vigorous root system, so that's filled its pot. So I'm just going to gently sort of tease it out of here, and then I'll put that one in. So I should have quite a good display from these. I don't actually know if I can fit them all in there, but I'll try. And this is my Delphinium, which is going to need a stake. It's already got quite tall. Again, I'll just tease that out slightly. What I also might do with my Delphinium, I don't know if I need to do that. I think I'm just going to pinch the growing tips out to try and get a bit more growth, a bit more lateral growth. And I'll do that with my Sweet Williams as well. Okay, and then just to squeeze in my Shasta daisy. And ooh, nice snail on there. And then I've got my wallflower in. So they're all nicely packed in there. So I just need to fill in the gaps. And this should be lovely in the summer when these start to flower. That's it. We could have a quick look. I think we've got the lasagna pot, might be worth having a quick look at before we go. Okay, so here it is again, as usual, the star of the show, the lasagna pot. So we've already had the crocuses, which put on a lovely display. And we've got the Tete-a-Tete daffs going for it, and then we've got our grape hyacinths, muscari here. And we've got plenty more daff heads there, and then I think we've got a few tulips coming up as well. So yeah, a good display out of one pot. So I'm hoping that this is going to run along a similar kind of principle, and you get the most out of your pot plants then, the longer sort of flowering displays. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see some of you on Saturday at our RHS Big Seed Sow and Seed Swap. Okay, happy growing.